Hello and welcome to the Asian game here at the FIFA Women's World Cup, where again all our coverage is proudly sponsored by our good friends at SMC. Paul Williams with you, joined by a very special guest, one of the voices of this World Cup, Mr. Robbie Thomson. Thanks very much for joining us. If you've listened to any of the World Cup, you probably would have heard his voice. Robbie, thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me and showing me a new part of Adelaide that I didn't know.
Indeed, we've come down here to Central Market, really the sort of culinary heart of Adelaide, if you will. Adelaide likes to think of itself as sort of the culinary centre of Australia. Hosts a massive food festival every year, Tasting Australia, and is renowned for its food and wine culture. We've come down here to sample a little bit of that. People who know your background will know you spent a lot of time living in France. You'd be no stranger to a great market. What's your favourite one in Paris or across Europe that you get to?
Well, I live just outside of Paris, like literally next to the Parc des Princes, which is written on, which I still advertise. And my local market there, I was a big fan. Great cheese. The French do bread, cheese, and wine. I know it's a cliche, but they do it very, very well. And you have to go to Italy if you want Italian food, France for French food, but this is good. I like it.
Yeah. Give us some French. What's the name of this market?
In Boulogne-Billancourt. It's just le marché de ville. So the city market at Boulogne-Billancourt. And this one is the marché central d'Adelaide. There you go.
Easy for you to say. As I said, you have been commentating on this World Cup. We'll get on to talking about the Matildas just quickly, but I just want to get your reflections overall on the tournament. You've commentated a number of the games. One of the great moments of this World Cup, the Colombia win against Germany, the Linda Caicedo goal. You had the fortune of calling that moment. You've been to World Cups, men's World Cups. You worked at the last Women's World Cup in France when you were living there at the time. Just your general impressions on the tournament so far and what it's been like to work on it.
Working on a World Cup is always a special moment, just for those 6 weeks where you put yourself in a bubble. And all the previous World Cups I've done, apart from making the official film in France 4 years ago for the Women's World Cup, I've been in a hotel for 6 weeks, or in Johannesburg in a bunker for 8 weeks in 2010. And you're in this bubble, and you're just going to the games or going to the media centres and trying to get the vibe of the place. And the vibe around Australia has been brilliant. I've been going to the games. I've been commentating in Sydney. The opening game, Australia versus Ireland, was a magical moment and just set the tone, really, I think. And from there, it's only grown. I mean, one of my second games was a Tuesday afternoon, midday, at the Sydney Football Stadium, where 25,000 people showed up for Colombia. And I mean, it was a spectacular moment. And that vibe, it reminds me actually of 2014 in Brazil, where there was so much controversy. I mean, might be a long bow to draw, but there was controversy leading up to the Brazil World Cup by the Brazilian people who weren't happy that all this money was being spent on the World Cup. But once it started, the football won everyone over, and because it was too strong for the Brazilians to keep protesting about, and they just got into it, and it was one of the most magical, festive 5 weeks that World Cup in Brazil. And it's the same feeling here, not the controversial build-up, just the fact that it's so hard to get traction in Australia, that it came up almost, in little tiptoeing up to the opening match. But the opening match, and people seeing it on TV, people hearing word of mouth in the papers, in the crowds, on the radio, on TV, that these games are on. And now you can't get tickets for the games. Yep. The games are all sold out. It's a record attendances in the history of the Women's World Cup. And I mean, we're football people. We know I always love to let the football do the talking. I've been blessed with some incredible games at this World Cup. That Germany-Colombia was incredible. But the quality of the football is just moving ahead so fast. And I think a lot of people that sort of say, oh, women's sport, it's just so slow. They can't catch, they can't throw, they can't run. It's all out the window here. We've seen literally elite level sport, tactically, physically, professionally, and I think a lot of people it's turned a lot of people's heads, and so it should, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, I think that stereotype of women's sport has certainly been busted, and the interest that you spoke about, we'll get on to talking about the Matildas win last night against Denmark that sees them through to quarterfinals, which equals their best ever performance at a World Cup. But Network 7, the free-to-air broadcaster here, released the figures this morning. I think the sort of national peak audience was 6.5 million people watching that game, which for those outside of Australia is about a quarter of Australia's total population. It was the most watched show on Australian TV this year, outrating the grand finals in what is notionally the two biggest sports here, rugby league and Australian rules football. And that was just for the...
Outrating My Kitchen Rules or The Voice or I mean, that's what it always is in...
And all of those as well. And that was just for the round of 16. You think it's only going to get bigger and bigger, and without wanting to look ahead beyond the quarterfinal, people are already starting to dream of a potential Australia-England semi-final. It would be remarkable what the ratings for that would be if we get there. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's look back on last night's performance against Denmark. 2-0 win, goals to Caitlin Foord and Hayley Raso in either half. You watched the game as well. What were your sort of immediate reactions after that game? A somewhat controlled performance from the Matildas, nervy opening 20 minutes, but they did enough to get through.
Yeah, I think it was apart from that nervy opening 20, where I think Denmark surprised a little bit tactically. They showed that they had nothing to lose. I mean, Denmark are not the top table of European football. It's been their last World Cup was 2007. So when the rest of the world was flying forwards in leaps and bounds in women's football, Denmark was just struggling to go with it. They're back now, and we've seen them at the Euro, and then in the lead up to this World Cup campaign that they're there, that they're a solid nation. But Australia had too much quality. Australia's players, too much pace, too much composure, a certain maturity as well that we haven't seen perhaps when we've always thought this could be the year for the Matildas. Asian Cup, Olympics, previous World Cups as well. Canada 2015, we had a great side that we thought could go a long way. We've just lacked that little bit of maturity, and I think it comes from experience and it comes from professionalism, and it's some of our younger players as well. You look at Claire Hunt and Kyra Cooney-Cross in the middle of the park. They are calm and composed, and it's from a nation's experience that they draw that strength from the older players as well that bring them calm. But also, they've been playing professional football in Australia for the best part of 5-6 years now. They've learnt their craft. They've come up through academies. As young players, they've learnt their trade in a professional environment, which perhaps generations previously in women's football didn't have. And now we're reaping the benefits. This is a side that plays with tactical maturity, that plays with physical strength, and an individual quality that was just too much for Denmark. I think France, if it's France, it will be a tough game in the next round. We'll get to that, I guess. But on last night's game, I'm not surprised. I think we played tactically very astute game. We absorbed pressure. We hit on the counter-attack. We know that's what we're best at. And in Mary Fowler, who's a player that hasn't always shown her best for the national team, those two key moments where she provided the key pass, it's brilliant. I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah. I think the other star last night was Caitlin Foord, and she was expected to step up in Sam Kerr's absence. I think the opening game against Ireland, she sort of really struggled to fill that void, and then of course they lost the Nigeria game. But I think her last two performances against Canada and again last night have shown her absolute best as what she can be. She's at best when she's playing out wide. She's not the focal point at the top like Sam is. She was absolutely dynamite last night.
Absolutely, and great for her to be back in that wide position. I mean, I think it's strange the journey you go on as a national team, isn't it? Because for a long time with Sam up front, with Hayley Raso on the right and Caitlin on the left in that 4-3-3, we were really struggling to create anything. And Caitlin Foord and Sam Kerr weren't combining that well. Steph Catley was injured a lot down the left-hand side. We'd lost that Arsenal left-hand side attack as well. Caitlin was moved into that number 10 role, or that false 9, just behind Sam Kerr, and suddenly it was like, this is what we've needed. Caitlin Foord in the middle, where she can run at players. She's got to be in the middle. But it was in that second striker role. Yep. Now we've got options as well, because she's moved back outside. She wasn't necessarily suited to that target woman role up front, which we haven't really played with in the absence of Sam Kerr. We've had Mary Fowler up there. We've had Vine at some point with Van Egmond just in behind. But it is great to see her back on that left-hand side. She can run at players, and it's no surprise that her pace and her cool finish. I mean, many people think she was Arsenal's best player this season in the Women's Super League, and that she brings that to Australia now. This is their moment. She's another one of these players, 7 or 8 players in the Australia team with over 100 caps. They've got the experience. This is their time. And they're growing into it. We're 4 games in now. There's still 3 to go. Yep. We're halfway, just over halfway through for these girls, and they're just going to get better and better.
It's interesting what you say there about many people think that she was Arsenal's best player. She probably gets overshadowed a lot by Sam Kerr, as you mentioned, because of all of her exploits. She is the face of this Matildas side. She's the face of women's football in this country. That everything Caitlin Foord does, she's kind of in the shadows a little bit. That perhaps we haven't appreciated just how good she is and how good she has been over the last few years. But I mentioned Sam Kerr there. She did get on the pitch last night. Of course, she was named to start on the bench again, so the inevitable questions came as to when or if she was going to get on the pitch. We did actually see her make her first minutes of the tournament, so it's nice to sort of put that conversation to bed a little bit as to will she actually play in this tournament. She is going to play in this tournament. She did play last night. The question now, looking ahead to the next game against France and Morocco, she got 15 minutes in the leg last night. Does she start? Does she automatically come back into this side? Because the last 2 games they've played with this 11, they've looked really good against Canada and against Denmark again last night. Do you disrupt a winning side and bring Sam Kerr in? Normally coaches would say, no, you've got a winning team, you keep the winning team, but this is Sam Kerr. This is not any player we're talking about. This is a player that many regard as the best women's player in the world. Do you think she starts in that next game?
Short answer? Yes. No. Sam starts. If she's fit to go for the start, I don't think she probably doesn't have 90 minutes in her, just because of that 15-minute cameo last night was the first we've seen her for 3 weeks. We saw one great acceleration down the right-hand side, and she fizzed a shot over the bar, and that, I mean, she contested headers, all the things where you think if you're a little bit worried about your calf, because calves are notoriously niggly little injuries. I think that was very full of confidence. And yes, there's a question about your starting 11, but this is a group, 23 players. You know, if it's, say, Emily Van Egmond that steps out, it could be, Mary Fowler steps out, Caitlin Foord comes back into that number 10 role, with Courtney Vine returning into a wide role. Everyone's pulling in the same direction. We saw it on the bench. We saw every time the Matildas score, they come across to the bench, that the players there, the Lydia Williams, who was number 1 for so long, is a great force on there. Charlie Grant, the Adelaide girl, who's had to play second fiddle now to the returning Ellie Carpenter at right back. But they're there. They're part of the team. They're Claire Wheeler, who hasn't played a minute yet. You see them on the bench. They're part of this. And I'm sure the girls that will step out, because I think Sam Kerr will start now. And this is all part of the plan. She was never going to play probably the first 3 games. I think the third game, if it was a big risk, if it was absolutely necessary. We saw she had the calf strapped up. Fortunately, it wasn't necessary, but it would have been a big risk to play her there. I think the morale in the camp when the team is winning is okay. Obviously, whoever misses out is going to be bitterly disappointed. But we've got 4 days of training before then as well. We don't know, anything could happen. Hopefully Sam pulls up okay. Other players have pulled up okay from last night because it's physical. There's a lot of football matches. We had 7 days to prepare for that one, but it's not going to be the case moving forward now. So you've got to manage players, manage minutes, loads. There's still a lot of variables that can change and can impact on the team selection. But if all things being equal, Sam fit, Sam's calf okay, Sam plays.
I think I have to agree with you. I think she does play because it's Sam Kerr. It's like leaving Lionel Messi out of Argentina. You just don't do it. They were the 2 sort of standout performers for Australia last night, or the standout names, and they both spoke to the media afterwards, and here's a little bit of what they had to say.
Yeah, just super pleased, relieved, I guess, to have the job done, keep the dream alive, and move on to the next.
Did you ever think you'd do that?
I mean, it is my job to create and score goals, so I'm happy to see that one go in. But I've always said from the start, it doesn't matter. I don't care who scores the goals as long as it goes in, and I think that shows what this team's about. It is a team effort. Doesn't matter who's on the score sheet. It's obviously a collective to get there and to get it done. So just proud and pleased with everyone's performance tonight.
You put the call out to Sydney to make sure they bring the noise the same way Melbourne did. How do you think they did?
I did, and it was good. It was very loud. They definitely turned up and helped push us through to get that one done. So I guess the next call now is to Brisbane to bring it louder and to help get us through the next game as well.
Having the last two matches be really dominant for us, what's that like for confidence going into the quarterfinals?
Yeah, no, it's massive. I think just within ourselves, the belief to know that if we're at our best as individual, work hard together as a collective, we know we can beat anyone on any given day. So it's just to, keep building on that. We've set the benchmark now to where it needs to be, and we have to keep taking it up another notch if we want to keep this dream alive.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think hopefully this is the last time I ever have to talk about the calf, but now the girls have been smashing it, and just a relief to be back on the pitch.
Steph mentioned that you wanted her to keep the captain's armband when you came on. Can you tell us a bit about that conversation?
I think it's just she's been smashing it. She's been, leading the team, and I didn't really think at the last 10 minutes it doesn't really matter. I mean, Steph's a natural born leader, and I mean, me and her share this role. I know most of the time I wear the captain's armband, but this tournament she's just shown that she's a born leader, and I didn't think it really needed to come to me, but it was nice just by her.
You're always the first to say that it's never about one person, it's always about the whole team. So how proud are you of this team?
Oh man, they've absolutely smashed it. I mean, every player's done so well. Every player in the squad's done so well. It's tough coming home and having so much noise around you, but we've all stuck together, and they've all done great, so I'm really proud of them.
Well, just before we finish up, Robbie, Kyra Cooney-Cross is another player that's receiving massive plaudits for her tournament so far. A young player playing in her first World Cup. She looks right at home in that heart of midfield alongside Katrina Gorry. What have you made of her tournament so far?
Massive player, big fan of KCC as she's becoming known, and I mean, when I first saw her play for Melbourne Victory, I was very impressed by just how comfortable she was with the ball. It looks like literally that she grew up with a ball at her feet. The ball is her friend. That's a technical side, a natural talent side of it. At Melbourne Victory, sometimes, I mean, she moved around a lot as well, playing different positions. But I think over the last year and a half at Hammarby in Sweden, we've seen her develop a professional side to her game, a powerful side to her game. She's the perfect foil for Katrina Gorry in the middle of the park. They're two players that get stuck in. And again, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, but playing with such maturity. You see her play, she has a football brain, and she's not the flashy player, she's not the player that will make all the difference, although we have seen some great runs and powerful runs and setting up nice play for her teammate, but she's just the calming influence, and in such a young player at the base of midfield, you've got a Katrina Gorry who's buzzing around, flying into challenges, winning the ball, contesting everything, talking, she's just this like a force of nature in the base of midfield. She's always looking to give the defenders that first outlet pass at the back, which is crucial. She can turn, she finds space, she fills space. She's defensively, positionally sound. I think she's been goal scorers, great goalkeepers we've seen in this tournament are the revelation. But along with Claire Hunt, who's been a similar influence at the back, Kyra Cooney-Cross has been outstanding, and another young player with World Cups to come. Yeah,
absolutely. I can't remember how many years ago it was now, when she first burst onto the scene for Melbourne Victory. Like you, I hadn't seen a player like that before come through. I remember commenting to a friend at the time that she's going to play for the Matildas one day. She's going to be very good, and that's come true. She certainly has. She was another one that spoke to the media after the game, and here's what she had to say.
Kyra, how are you feeling after last night?
Yeah, good. Woke up feeling good this morning after a really tough game versus Denmark. Looking forward to the next game.
Tell us what it was like against Denmark last night, a good, strong European team.
Yeah, Denmark are a good team, and they came out aggressive in the first half. I think they surprised us a little bit. But yeah, it was a really good performance from the girls, and yeah, we got the win.
Tell us about your own game. How do you feel you're growing into this tournament?
Yeah, I think every game it just gets more easier for me. I get more confidence, and And obviously, like I've said before, I wouldn't be here without Minnie. I love playing alongside her, and yeah, I just feel more confident every game, and I love being out there.
What is it about playing alongside Minnie that provides you with that stability and confidence?
I just know that she believes in me and rates me as a player. And yeah, I know that she loves playing with me as well. So yeah, we really enjoy playing with each other and we balance each other out.
Tell us, 75,000 people at Stadium Australia. Tell us about the crowd and what that was like.
Yeah, 75,000 people at Stadium Australia. It's really amazing to see that people are coming out to watch the Women's World Cup, men, women, girls and boys. And when I was singing the national anthem, I was looking for my family and friends, and I kept looking up, and you just see more and more people, and the stadium just goes up. Yeah, and it was really good to see.
Heading into a quarterfinal, it's only Australia's second quarterfinal. Can you tell us what's important now to be prepared for Saturday?
So today we'll do recovery. That's the main focus, and then focus on getting back into training. But for now, yeah, we're just taking it step by step, and yeah, we'll see who we'll be playing on Saturday.
Kyra, it's your first Women's World Cup. What are you enjoying about this whole experience?
Yeah, I'm enjoying everything about this first World Cup. It's at home, on home soil, in front of family and friends. These stadiums are beautiful, playing in front of the crowd. I just love being out there, and it's just an amazing feeling, and I'm so grateful.
All right, last question for you, Robbie. We're here in Adelaide. This is where France-Morocco is going to be tonight. There's interest in that from an Australian point of view now, because the winner of this game will face the Matildas on Saturday afternoon or Saturday early evening, 5 p.m. local time in Brisbane. France, Morocco are the darlings of this tournament given what they've been able to achieve. France have been inconsistent in their performances so far. I think it's fair to say under Hervé Renard. What are you expecting from this game? Would you expect that France would be too strong, or can Morocco continue their fairy tale run?
I think we're at a crossroads for France, which they seem to get to in every single major tournament, which is now we're at the point where do we show and put together the complete performance that we've hinted at and shown glimpses of in the tournament so far, or do we just get undermined by these inconsistencies and the little things that just mentally let the team down, which have done so. I mean, they've only made the semi-finals once in 2011. In women's football, French club sides have been a driving force for years and years. Olympique Lyonnais are the greatest women's club side in history, with 8 Champions League trophies. They won 5 in a row in the Women's Champions League, right when that boom period was starting. They made the final 2 years ago. They're still there and thereabouts. But at an international level, the French national team just hasn't been able to take that step to semi-finals, to a final of a major tournament. Semi-finals last year in the Euro as well, where they lost out to England, who deserved winners on home soil as well. If France can show what they showed against Brazil, which was steely focus, concentration, professionalism, strong in a challenge, not afraid to put the foot in, merciless, which they were against Brazil, they will go through. If they start thinking, like against Panama, that this is a game within their realm of, that they're strong enough, they're good enough individually, they're good enough collectively, they can come unstuck, because Morocco have shown, Morocco have won their last 2 games. Morocco lost their first game 6-0 against Germany. To bounce back and even get a point in the rest of the tournament is outstanding. They've won 2 matches. They beat Colombia, who beat Germany. They effectively knocked Germany out of the competition, the world number 2. It's a astonishing performance what they've done so far. And of course, there's the history between these 2 countries, France and Morocco. France were a colonizer, Morocco, North African. It was a bitter history between the 2 nations. Morocco got their independence in 1956. There's an enormous Moroccan community in France that doesn't always feel that reconciliation. It's a thing we know about here between colonial and colonized and colonizer, and that exists there. It's a real thing. a lot of the girls are French-born. A lot of the girls played together in youth. I think 3 of the girls represented France at youth level. Now they've got their opportunity for the land of their origins, the country of their parents or their grandparents, and they will be wanting to do absolutely everything to knock off this French side. France probably have too much quality. It's whether they can put it together. And then for Australia, well, I think Australia, on what we've seen, have the measure of both really, if they can put it together.
The World Cup has a way of just bringing about these great storylines of bringing nations that have this sort of shared history together, and it's certainly done that here at the Women's World Cup as well. Robbie, I'll let you rest your voice now because you've got a massive call tonight, but pleasure to come down to Central Market with you and to share some lunch and some coffee, and appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Paul, an absolute pleasure. I look forward to next time.
Definitely. There will be hopefully a next time. That's where we will leave things for today. Again, all our coverage sponsored by our good friends at SMC. With 2 Asian teams through to the last day, our coverage will continue as we keep track of Japan and Australia. But until I speak to you next time, it's bye for now.